that. We ain't night riders. That. We ain't night riders.
Welcome to the Night Riders Squadcast live stream. You are now rolling with the Night Riders.
Oh yeah, about to go in tonight. All right. Let's let this beat simmer down real quick. Yeah. All right. So, welcome everyone to another exciting episode of the Night Riders Squadcast. And boy, do we have a broadcast for you tonight. Those of you who will have the privilege of seeing this live, shout out to you. Those of you who will watch the playback, I appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time to come on this small corner of YouTube and see how we do things over here. Your viewership is greatly appreciated. But this particular broadcast is something that I think is going to be a reference point for people with regard to this topic. This is a very serious topic. It's something that I know does not get anywhere near the amount of attention that it deserves. But we are going to deal with it tonight. As you may have seen with the thumbnail, and if you took the time to read the description, we're going to be uncovering something that is a taboo, particularly in the so-called Black community, or some people call it affectionately the communitah. And what we're going to talk about tonight is the fact that there is a subculture where it is okay, well, not even just okay, but actually celebrated and encouraged for Black boys to be abused. Or as I believe the term that they use now is SA, and you should know what those letters stand for. But there are a host of examples out in the public with regard to these celebrities. Now, we deal with the celebrities because that's something that a lot of people on a broader scale can relate to. Because like I have said numerous times on this channel, this is not a gossip channel. This is not a celebrity news channel. However, there are relevant and germane points that can be extracted from some of these stories. And that is the reason why we deal with them. And it's relatable, right? So what you'll notice is that when we deal with these particular subjects, we don't spend as much time focusing on the celebrities per se and what they do and all of that. We deal with the particular issue at hand, and we extract from that a more meaningful example. And we're going to do that on a broad scale tonight. So we got a lot of ground to cover. And without any further ado, we're going to definitely get this cracking. And I have got to tell you, this is going to be something that you're going to need to strap in for. Yeah, we're gonna push some limits tonight. I mean, I'm not sure if we're going to get another strike on the channel as a result of some of the things we're going to talk about, but over here at the Night Riders, that is the name of the game. And when I envisioned this particular little broadcast of ours, these are the types of presentations that I had in mind in terms of just kind of pushing the envelope, dealing with topics and dealing with them in such a way that was not the norm, and bringing out certain concepts that other people may not be aware of, and doing it in a courageous way, um, dare I say it, maybe even heroic way, no pun intended, to our little thing that we have going on over here. Oh, which, by the way, just a sidebar, we will be unleashing the first roster of the KRU, or the Night Riders universe. So be on the lookout for that as we close out the year 2023. Just to give you guys a little treat. I think it's going to be something that you will enjoy. Those of you who are, you know, into these types of artistic endeavors. So it's going to be cool. We're going to try to get that released on the channel sometime this week, and to kind of illustrate some of the things that I've been saying in terms of some of the people who we feel parallel with certain characters from the DC universe and what we call the KRU, or the Night Riders universe, and how that all comes together. But that's just a sidebar. But we're going to get into this, and I got to point out some things that I've noticed across the YouTube and the internet as a whole. And there's a very, how shall I say, cavalier attitude that Black people have when it comes to certain labels, right? They're very quick to call people certain things, even when they don't fit them at all. Case in point, you will hear people could calling men homosexuals and things like that. And they do it to women too, but I think it's more or less something that uh, is more geared at the men. And it's this very nonchalant way of taking a man who is clearly not homosexual. Now, obviously, you have a preponderance of and an overrepresentation in certain circles of men who are indeed effeminate, and no one really wants to deal with the root of a lot of how these men became that way. But I noticed that a lot of times what people like to do is, just predicated on a disagreement, they'll throw out these labels, calling men gay, calling men all these other derogatory and uh, effeminizing names, right? And I think that that's a culture that has become very comfortable with attacking manhood. And I just notice it across even areas that I see that are, at least ostensibly, they're supposed to be pro a certain level of manhood, but you'll go and you'll read in certain comment sections or chat rooms where there's a very high level of comfortability with putting down, the Black men. Now, for my part, I typically, in my real life, I don't really tolerate stuff like that. People can't come around me just saying any type of thing. I noticed that, when you get online, you kind of have to kind of have a thick skin, which I do. I just kind of let things roll off. Um, it does get annoying, to have some some guys who in real life wouldn't dare say some of the things that they say online. There's some little punk dude that can't fight his way out of a wet paper bag, and if they see you in person, while online behind, being a keyboard warrior, they will be saying certain things. But if I roll up on them in real life, and they see my size and they see how I get down in real life, then they wouldn't have that much energy. But I say all that to say that the reason for this is that there is this culture that kind of ties into what we're going to be talking about tonight, where the Black man's masculinity is something that's up for auction. And I'm using that word very specifically because even if you look back in history, and how a lot of times you had these examples, and not to go into the whole slavery thing, but that is something that we need to touch on, because there is a legacy that we can connect in terms of the emasculation of black men, and how that institution was kind of trickled down, and it comes into a lot of these households, as we're going to get into. We're going to see how, unfortunately, a lot of the black mothers kind of perpetuated a lot of these institutional things that were kind of bred maybe during the transatlantic slave trade, and the antebellum South and all these other places, up to including what they would consider colorism, which they like to lay at the feet of black men and put that as something that's solely the responsibility. But these are clearly things that have been fostered, unfortunately, by their mothers, by their women. And we have evidence of that. Like I said in the description of this video, we don't just have receipts, we got tax returns tonight. And, just getting back to that point briefly about what I see out here in these YouTube streets, about how cavalier people are with throwing out labels and saying certain things. And I was out on the Millionaire Morning Show. Shout out to the Millionaire Morning Show, and I go there, here and there, because on Fridays that's kind of when I have a little time. It's still very early here, but I go in there, I maybe chop it up with Anton. We go back and forth, but it's cool, nothing personal. But I noticed over there, it's kind of like there's like a disproportionate amount of people in his chat that likes to, try to say, call people certain names and things like that. And it's kind of funny to me, because I'm thinking, what, because they'll say something, oh, he a simp or something. I'm like, there's nothing about me that's a simp, nothing about me that's effeminate. But it goes to show you that a lot of guys, they get this courage. And I'm not picking on the Millionaire Morning Show. I mean, like I said, I rock with it. But I'm just, this one that I noticed in particular, where you have these certain people that feel very comfortable taking what is clearly a masculine dominant man such as myself, and they'll label him things that don't fit. And I've seen that happen to other people as well. And it's just this culture, right? They used to do it to people like Tommy. They would accuse him of being gay, and just all this type of stuff. And I have to ask the question, where's all this coming from? Why is it that there's such a level of comfort disrespecting black men, particularly, men who are clearly masculine, and not giving them that respect, in the sense of not putting a label on them that clearly does not fit who they actually are? And it just kind of ties into, as I said, what we're going to be talking about. And what I want to share with you is something that I've identified. I've identified four. Let me put that on the screen for you here. I've identified four, or at least four. I think I'm working on a couple more, but at least four types of men that baby mama culture produces. Okay. And I'm going to share those briefly, and then we're going to get right into some clips, and we're going to break this down, because like I said, this is going to be a very extreme show, because like I said, we're going to push the limits tonight. So again, I'm putting in this work, so y'all come through, give us a thumbs up, give us the views or whatever. If you can't make the live show, I see a couple people in the building now. Shout out to y'all. But yeah, we're gonna push it tonight. It's gonna be a hell of a show. But let's deal with the first one. We're gonna run through these. These are this is something that I haven't seen anyone else do in terms of breaking it down. Obviously, we've heard these terms before, but I'm going to lay them out in a different way. Number one, the so-called, quote, good single mothers produce simps. Now, we all know what simps are, right? We don't have to go into a definition of that. But what I have done with this particular point is to illustrate that the quote good, and I put good in quotations, because when you think of these women who actually do bring some level of discipline or some level of order to a household, right? They are the women who give their children structure. They work. They may work 1 or 2 jobs. They make sure that their child is doing their homework. So those are considered good mothers, right? However, when you look beneath the surface, they are not providing that boy in particular with what he needs, which is a father. So are they really good? That's why I had to put it in quotations. Even though they're doing the best that they can do, trying to be the mother and the daddy, as some of them have the nerve to say, but at the end of the day, they could never be that boy's father. So even in their attempts to be, quote, good mothers, and even if they are in an elevated, respectable state in the eyes of that boy, what happens is that he's starting to look at the female as his authority figure. He's starting to look at the female as his superior. He's starting to look at the female as someone as he always has to bow down to, or give some type of pedestal to. And that, in effect, is what creates the simp. So even if you have a situation where you have a what would be considered a, quote, good mom raising a boy without that man involved, preferably his father, then you're going to produce a simp. That is what happens. So either way it goes, there's really no positive outcomes in a single mother, or as I call it, the baby mama culture. Those types of households, that it really does not, at the end of the day, produce the type of men that we need in society. So, like I said, we're going to get through these, and these are going to be revisited, because at some point I might even do subsequent videos on this, because it warrants a little more deeper dive than I'm going to do tonight, because like I said, this is not the subject, but it's going to lay the groundwork for what we're going to get into a little bit later. The next group is bad baby mamas produce the criminal class. And I would like to once again identify that I kind of coined that term with regard to identifying what is normally, and I put it here as well, the I meant to say IE, so let me see if I can adjust that. When it comes to, well, I guess I'll just let it sit. But criminal class, i.e., thugs, Pookie and Ray Rays, etc. Now, normally that's kind of how they're framed, but I identified it as a criminal class, meaning that these guys are the ones who are being neglected by their moms. In contrast to the first one, who are the, quote, good moms, the, quote, bad moms are the ones who are leaving their kids out to fend for themselves. They may have drug problems. They may have other issues that prevent them from being those types of parents that they need to provide the structure that's necessary for these boys to grow up healthy. So what do? Inherently, particularly boys and men, we want structure. So they're going to go out into the street, and they're going to get into the gangs. They're going to get into the drugs. They're going to do all this stuff because they're lacking it from home, because they got a single mom who's absent, who's not doing what she's supposed to do. So he's being raised by the streets. So that is what in particular creates that category. Now, this is also backed by facts, because it's already been noted that upwards of 85 or 90% of the inmates come from single mom homes, right? So that gives you a statistical analysis as well to show you that what I'm saying is correct. I'm giving you the different aspects of single motherhood or baby mamaism, and I'm showing you that the type of men that they produce. In each level of these men are the type of men that women are complaining about, but they all are stemming from these various branches of single mothers or baby mamas. Because when you think of the baby mama, prior to me breaking it down into these categories and what they produce, it tended to be this generalization of just saying, oh, she's just a single mom or whatever, not even realizing that they're different sectors, and they all produce a different result, as I'm showing you here. Let's go into the third one. Number 3, overly affectionate baby mamas produce son husbands or effeminate, sexually deviant men. And this one speaks to the topic that we're going to have tonight, because it is the overly affectionate baby mamas, the ones who, because they don't have a man, because of that natural inclination or affection that they're supposed to be pouring into their husband, preferably the child's father, they redirect it in a perverse way, and they start putting that affection on that boy, telling him that he's the man of the house, giving him all of these inflated senses of responsibility that go beyond what he's supposed to even deal with. So that in effect creates, what it does is it twists the mind of this boy. He grows up too fast. In extreme cases, unfortunately, we know that there's abuse in those particular situations. And again, we're gonna go there tonight. Like I said, people, I'm telling you, you better strap in. Some people, they gonna have a problem. I'm telling you right now, the they out partying tonight, so they're not catching it live. But when they watch this playback, they're gonna be a lot of gnashing of teeth, and people are gonna be upset because we going here tonight. Some people, I'm telling you, we ain't just bringing receipts. We got some tax returns for you. So, but when it comes down to this particular category, you're dealing with a perversion. These baby mamas who are taking what should be, and like I said, it's kind of like the opposite of the previous one, in that those women who don't give their sons the proper amount of love or care, that they seek it, acceptance, they try to get validation through the streets, right? And that's how you get the thugs. But the ones who become the son husbands or the mama's boys, they're getting too much affection, and sometimes it really crosses the line, and it goes off into the what you might consider the incestuous thing, and that creates a deviant. And I have forensic evidence to show that that is what may have led to guys such as the R. Kellys of the world and the P. Diddy's of the world. And like I said, we're going to roll out some footage on that. So yeah, that is the product. When you see these guys out here, either they go in one direction, either they're hypersexual. Those are the guys who, in paradoxically, they're the ones who are out here that are producing a lot of these baby mamas as well, because they these guys become sexually deviant, and they become very much interested in going and impregnating other women as a means to try to prove their manhood, or trying to kind of, in the male way of trying to break that hold that their mom has on him. He has to go out and dominate another woman. So a lot of these guys, what you'll find is they go out and they'll be serial impregnators. So I believe that just like a high percentage of the previous category would be the inmates and the people who are in the gangs and the thug life and so forth. This particular category produces the range of the sexual deviants, right? The ones who are, as I said, the serial impregnators, to the guys who are, maybe abusers, committing the essays or the grapes, also becoming the ones who are effeminate, right? So, but what do they all have in common? They all can be rooted or traced back to the style and the type or the category that their baby mama fell into. So let's get into the last one. And we're not going to touch on this one as much tonight. This is kind of me giving you a sneak preview to an upcoming presentation that we're going to do probably for another broadcast. But the fourth one that I've identified is the self-hating baby mamas. They produce the quote colorist black men in particular, who reject natural black women features. So interestingly enough, for these women who are always complaining about how there are certain black men who prefer lighter women, women with more Eurocentric features and so forth, they never stop to think, where did they get that from? They never question how those boys were raised. I know for a fact that the way you're raised as a young man, as a boy growing up, in the type of values that your mother in particular instills upon you has a direct correlation to how you view women. I'll give you a quick example. My mom was just the opposite. She raised me and my sister, who are more of a dark brown complexion. My mom's like medium lighter. My father's very dark, but my mom's a little on the lighter side. She's like light brown. And she always instilled upon us the fact that we had beautiful skin and that she wanted to have she wanted her skin to look more like ours because she was lighter than us. And that instilled within me and my sister a sense of pride in that we're happy with how we look, our features and whatnot. We never had an issue with who we were. There was no self-hate. And I'm going to probably, when I give this full presentation, go into the history of why my mom um, did some of the things that she did because of some of the history of her family. It's a very interesting story. I don't have time to flesh it out now, but I'm going to share that with you guys. Like I said, maybe when I do this particular broadcast with to this particular point category of women. But secretly, they may have wanted to get with some other, maybe a non-black man or a man of a different hair texture or whatever, so that they can produce kids like that. Because they didn't get a chance to do that, they passed on that hatred to their daughters, and their daughters, you know, go out and get the hot presses and the perms and the weaves and all that too. And then you couple that with the societal pressures, and then you're going to get people who are going to be seeking those views, right? You're going to have people who want to start brightening their skin and doing all this different stuff. Now, when it comes to the boys and the way they're raised, what's going to happen with them is that they're going to internalize the type of women they want. They're not going to want a woman that looks like their mother or who has more Negroid features. They want something that looks different because the mother is instilling that within them, if not indirectly, directly. I have footage of Matthew Knowles, who is Beyonce's father, because recently people have been talking about how Beyonce is whitening herself. Well, she got that honest because her father, or her father's mother, which would be Beyonce's grandmother, specifically told him, "Don't bring no nappy head, dark skinned woman home." I got him on footage saying that in an interview. And that's why he married Tina Knowles, which she's Creole. She is mixed, and he actually thought she was white, and that's the reason why he got with her. And he was starting to date white women back in the '60s, risking life and limb. He's in an interview admitting this because of what his mother instilled within him. She could have, I mean, this type of programming could have even got bodily harm put to him, because he was doing this at a time that it was literally life or death for a black man to be with a white woman. But he was so turned off by his own women and their features, as indoctrinated by his mother, that he would rather risk life and limb to get him a white woman or a white adjacent woman than to deal with a woman that looked anything like his mother, or an actual black woman. So it's very fascinating, but that is the root of it when it comes to these colorist black men that these women like to get on the internet and scream and cry about all day long. They are literally produced by self-hating baby mamas. Or even if the mother is married, this one is even more insidious, because it doesn't matter even if there's a man there, she can still instill that level of self-hatred in her daughters, or that level of disgust that the boy will have for women that have negroid or africanoid features. But like I said, we're going to deal with that one in another video. But I just wanted to roll those out to show you that that's how deep this goes. Now, at this point, like I said, we're going to hit it hard. So we're going to go into a lot of clips. I got some very good stuff that we're going to be breaking down. And the first thing we're going to do is deal with the uh, topic in terms of this wordplay that we're doing, as far as the title of this presentation, which is Behind Every Grape. And you know what we're trying to say with that. We can't use the actual word because of the algorithm, but you know what we mean. We ain't talking about grapes that you peel from a vine or nothing like that. Y'all know what we're talking about. So we say behind every grape man, there is a graper woman. Now, what do we do here? We're doing wordplay because there's a saying. Actually, I think it's more of a simpish saying, but it's a pretty famous saying that goes like this. It says, behind every great man, there's a great woman. In some cases, I've heard behind every great man, there's an even greater woman, right? So they say that to give credence or credit to a woman in a man's life. So whatever great man you have out there, as if he couldn't have done his accomplishments without there being a woman somewhere in the picture, right? So we took that and we put it on his head and said, well, wait a minute, why can't the inverse be true? Because we have clear examples where this is true. And so if you see somebody starting to bite this type of title, because I see what some people did with my did he do it title. Yeah, they may have thought I didn't notice, but yeah. But shout out to them. I got a lot of big YouTubers that come over here and sneak watch. I see you, but it's cool. It's all love. You can shout a brother out here and there. I'll come through and drop something off to your to your super chat or whatever. Like I said, I'm international, so for whatever reason I can't get my cash app up, but I definitely got a super chat for you. Some of you bigger YouTubers that come and like to shadow watch. It's cool. You can shout me out because I see y'all titles out there and some of you concepts. I know it's fire and you want to reuse it, and it's cool. But it don't hurt you to shout a brother out here and there. But anyway, that's the wordplay that we're doing with this particular title. Behind every grape man is a graper woman, meaning these guys, and we put the list out there. When we made that thumbnail, we had a lot of these celebrities who were accused of grape. And when you dig into their stories, as we're about to do now, what you will find is that these were actual lies, either perpetrated by a black woman, unfortunately. And it doesn't give me any pleasure to point this stuff out. The facts are just the facts. Either they were set up, and we're going to go into these various stories, or if they did do certain things, or certain things can be attributed to them. If you look into their history, a lot of these guys were abused, either by, in some cases, it may have been their mother, or it may have been some other female relative or some other female adult. And it's serious. And like I said, there's a subculture of this where it's not only being accepted, but it's being celebrated. And we're going to pull the cover off of that tonight. But without any further ado, let's get into these clips because we got a lot of stuff to break down here. So the first thing I'm going to do is deal with Ike Turner. Now, Ike Turner is famous, or shall I say infamous, with being abusive, for lack of a better term, to his even more famous wife, the late Tina Turner. Now, I believe Ike Turner has passed on to him. Rest in peace to him. But as it turns out, this was all a propaganda, part of the propaganda machine, because Ike Turner was a crucial component of the invention of rock and roll. He's one of the founding fathers of rock and roll. And it's like there was some type of conspiracy to throw shade on him or muddy up his image, because there's a certain faction of people who want to claim rock and roll, when if you trace it forensically, you'll know where it actually came from. And Ike Turner was actually one of the pioneers. And so there was this smear campaign that came about to where somehow he was this abuser. He was this, and even in the movie What's Love Got to Do with It, there was a scene that they literally made up where he was graping Tina. So they were, and it never happened. he corroborated it. And I think he put a lawsuit against him because they put that in there, and the way they depicted him was horrible. And it wasn't even the way he was, because he was actually a very disciplined musician, and he would actually fine people if they were using drugs, and because he was very strict when it came to his producing his music and so forth. But in actuality, it was just the opposite of how they portrayed it. Like, Ike was the violent one, and Tina was this demure little Southern girl, and he was just some big bad old black man that went and manipulated her and did all these horrible things to her. Which in actuality, it was Tina who was the violent one, and she was the one with the more of a criminal history. And we have a hugely credible source in the person of none other than Mr. Judge Joe Brown, very famous, very well esteemed judge who actually knew them personally, grew up around them, and he has some firsthand accounts of who they actually were. He knows them on both sides. I think he grew up in the same town that they did down south, and he was around them out on the West Coast. So he has a very unique, very credible, authentic perspective that everyone needs to hear, and it will shock you. It will change your life. And I got some clips that we're gonna play that illustrate how this propaganda happened, where they literally did a role reversal. Tina was the bad guy. Ike was the guy that had some sense and was decent. She was the one that was abusive. She even had a history of abusing other women. She was actually a pimp, believe it or not. Oh yeah, we're gonna get into it tonight. But yeah, so let me roll that clip. So we're gonna get into Judge Joe Brown. And some of you who may see this video, you may be familiar with this, but we're gonna go here tonight though. So let me go ahead and pull this up. Give me one moment. I'm gonna play a couple of clips and check out what he got to say about her. And it's crazy because it's the polar opposite to what it is that we have been taught about Tina and that whole thing. And you had people none other than like Oprah Winfrey, and putting her all on the show and celebrating Tina, and especially I think when that movie came out with What's Love Got to Do with It, they were really all over that, just giving her all this queen treatment, like she had did so much, and it was all a lie. And like I said, and they really tarnished. It was basically a character assassination that they did to Ike. So it's really tragic. But we're going to go ahead and play this first clip, and I'm going to play a few more as well. So let me see if I can pull this up. Okay, that's the one. Let me lock and load it here for you. We're going to get into it. Let me just pull it up for you. Okay, so yeah, I think I moved it somewhere. Yeah, I got to move it back over here. Because I had a folder that I moved. Yeah, so I got everything in one place. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in here. See, did I put it in there? All right, there we go. Oh, is that it? Okay, so yeah. So check this out. I'm going to skip through these videos as well because it's, skip past that.
Grew up where Ike Turner has been badmouthed.
Ike Turner.
Ike Turner. I grew up where Ike Turner was an icon in our neighborhood because he always stopped with his homeboy, brought fries and hamburgers and Cokes, and would sit there and talk to us youngsters for 2-3 hours at a time, telling us to stay straight, focus on school, get a decent career together, act like you've got some sense, treat women with respect. And
now, does that sound like a man who's an abuser? Does that sound like a man who's going to be going upside Tina's head and graping her in the studio and all that? And this is a first-hand account. This is Judge Joe Brown. He's literally a judge, world renowned. Okay, highly credible. And if anything he was saying was wrong, Where's the litigation? Where's the Tina? Because he was talking like this, I believe, when Tina was still alive. And if he, even if, you know, since she's gone, what about her estate? Where's the slander? Where's the libel cases? They ain't got nothing because they know he's telling the truth. But let's get it.
Treat your communities with respect. Tina Turner drove around in a matching Rolls Royce, and if you made the bad mistake of confusing the two vehicles, she'd roll the window down, cuss you out, spit at you, tell you weren't worth a goddamn, and she would treat you like dirt. How else would I do that? Okay, fine. One particular anecdote, personal eyewitness, ears heard, went to a picnic, family style picnic, not picnic, barbecue, 4 houses down from where the Turners live. Ike was down doing his gardening. He put his trowel down, wiped his hands over, came over and talked to the young men, including me. We all played football for Dorsey High, asked us how the team was doing, talked stuff to us, told us to be in school. He went back. That witch, Tina Turner, came out the door, started cussing at him. He started talking to her, saying, please, there are children around. Stop that. She wasn't mad at him about a woman. She was mad at him because he had a writer's block on a song they were working on. She wound up coming out and hitting him as hard as she could, it looked like, with one of these heavy cast iron head rakes. We thought she'd done him some serious harm. Yeah, we saw that. I saw her when she was standing in line at Ralph's Market on Crenshaw Boulevard.
Does that sound like some demure little victim? Listen to what the judge is saying. He's literally pulling the cover off this lie, this myth that we were taught about Tina Turner and Ike Turner. And even to this day, the vast majority of people still probably running with the narrative, running with the propaganda that somehow Ike was this bad guy going around smacking up beside the head every 5 minutes and doing all this stuff. When meanwhile, she was the bad guy. And shout out to, what's his name, this dude, Chad. His expressions are priceless. This dude, his expression is not going to change. Shout out to him. He's entrenched. He's intrigued. This guy right here, man, the judge got his attention, but this may have been the first time he heard this, but I've seen the judge talking about this before, but it is riveting because it's the polar opposite of what people have been taught. But let's get some more.
At the railroad tracks. There were 4 little high school girls went to Dorsey. I was in college, a senior at the time. Tina was standing in front of them. One of them got the nerve. Tina turned around and called her a sleazy, greasy bitch. Don't ever talk to me unless I give you permission. The girls started crying. That's why I don't have any respect for that woman, because Hollywood sat there and tried to run a game on Ike. Ike and his new wife were in front of me for 2 arbitration proceedings. You know what for? Because they had a foundation to help out abused women. What it was about is if the woman signed a contract, they would give her money to escape from the abuse. If she went back, she owed a repayment on what was a loan. If she left, it was a gift. That's what it was about, because Ike Turner was an upstanding man, and that sleazy heifer. Oh, and I don't even talk about what she used to do when she was a pimp in Memphis. And when I got...
You heard that right. For those of you who didn't know, I wasn't exaggerating. You heard it right out of the mouth of the judge. Yes, Tina Turner was a pimp down in Memphis. Crazy. Now, to hear the media tell it, they would make you think that he was the pimp and she was the hoe, and he was pimping her out and doing all that, when in actuality, she was the violent one. He was the voice of reason. He was even the one trying to talk to the kids in the neighborhood. She was going around cussing them out and spitting at people. Totally different from the perception that they wanted you to have. Crazy. Anyway, we're gonna get some more.
Here back in the early 70s, and I started getting clients who were scared of that person because she was a gorilla pimp. Yeah, let's talk about that.
She wasn't just a pimp; she was a gorilla pimp. And those of you who don't understand that term, a gorilla pimp is somebody who they dirty pimping. They don't care about the women. See, they got pimps. Some pimps they'll treat their women a little better, right? They'll make them love them, so they'll put them out there on the track and make them, you know, feel good about giving them the money. What he mean by gorilla pimp, meaning that they'll just work them girls to they don't care about them. You know, it's kind of like a throwaway. They just burn them out. And I think he's going to give an example of what some of the culture of pimping that Tina came from down in Memphis, how they would be basically kidnapping and trafficking girls. And that's the style of pimping that she was doing. Check this out.
That's how I can talk about a real man who stopped every time he got over and over and would talk to all of the young boys in the hood about being straight, getting your studies together, paying attention to being crime free, and listening to your parents and being something in life. Yeah, I talk about that punk ass Will Smith doing that unmanly BS, and I support a person that helped myself and a lot of other black boys become men and deal with listening to what he was telling us about manhood and respect. And
now look at the impact that he had on George Joe Brown. Judge Joe Brown may have not even became a judge if it was not for Ike Turner. Who knows? But look at the encouragement and look at the trajectory that the judge went by listening to someone like Ike and having that type of guy, a guy of his stature, because he was a superstar in his day. And for him to take the time and talk to those young men, that shows the character of that man. And for them to have demonized him the way they did. So when you think of Ike Turner, he's synonymous with abuse. It's crazy. And then you got Tina here. She's supposed to be like little Miss Angel, right? And she was actually the devil of the two, right? Crazy.
I saw him act with respect, and I saw that witch that Hollywood made into a prototype for a feminist mad woman act exactly the opposite. That's why I have respect for Ike Turner, because
by the way, if I didn't mention it before, I'll mention it now. Fair use, fair use.
he helped so many of us stay straight and true.
Thank you.
Well said. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, he pretty much summed that up pretty well. So, like I said, I think I got another clip that I'm going to show because he points out a few other things I want to. So, yeah, that debunks the whole myth right there. That's the reason I, short and sweet, right to it. That's what I wanted right there to show you guys how deep that rabbit hole goes. And the reason why I felt this was important was because this ties into this whole notion of the propaganda that we've been talking about. And I don't think there's a more blatant or clear example of someone being totally tarnished and propagandized than Ike Turner. And the fact that they put that man and depicted him in that movie the way it did. And he said the thing that really bothered him about that movie in particular was the fact when they showed him to have graped her. He said that never happened. And if you go back and look at that movie, it's called What's Love Got to Do with It? It's a very graphic scene where it was his wife, but they made it like he was just on coked out and he just basically graped her in the studio. So it was crazy. But he said that never happened. But anyway, look, we're going to get another clip from the judge as well. Hold on.
We're here in Baldwin Hills in LA.
Mm-hmm.
And
fair use.
Me and some guys.
Fair use. This is fair use.
Guys who played football at UCLA, we were not UCLA, Dorsey High. We were throwing a football.
Mm-hmm.
So we said, "Isn't that Ike Turner?" The guy said, "Yeah, it's Ike Turner. He's a neighbor." So anyway, he looked up, we waved, and he took his gloves off, dusted his hands. He was down there on his knees with a trowel working in the flower bed. So he comes on down, shakes everybody's hand, asks us how we were doing, noted we've been playing ball. Did we play ball? Yeah, how's the team doing? We told him, yeah, stay in school and all that. And he smiled, waved, walked on back. About 10 minutes later, Tina storms out the back door. And she's mad at him because from the conversation, it sounded like he just was drawing a blank and she wanted him to come up with these lyrics. And he's trying to explain, that's why I'm out here. I'm trying to think, give me a moment. She got the cussing. I ain't got a goddamn moment, blah, 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 blah. She was a perfectionist in her art. So anyway, he said, well, baby, it's just not coming. I'm trying to get it together. And she started using all his MFs and everything else. And he said, well, there's some kids down there. Fuck them little motherfuckers, blah, blah, blah.
Such a lady, right? Now contrast that to her image, right? She was this damsel in distress, and this big old bad Ike was going upside her head. But look at the contrast. And again, the judge is very credible. He was there. He's an eyewitness. And if anything that he was saying is a lie, then the estate of Tina should have been going after him for libel or slander or whatever. Ain't nobody came after him because they know this was the truth. That shows you the power of propaganda. This is the exact opposite of the personas. And the Banshee class, the women who are out there, the Cynthia G's of the world, they'll probably still propagate that narrative, right? That Ike was the abuser. Ike was the abuser. But in actuality, you have a front row seat, an eyewitness to who was the actual abuser right here. None other than Judge Joe Brown. And this would be good eyewitness accounting, even if it was just a regular Joe, no pun intended. But now you got Judge Joe Brown, who is an actual judge, telling you. I couldn't think of a better character witness than an actual judge of his caliber to support and single-handedly dismantle the propaganda that was put up against Brother Ike. So shout out to the judge for doing that. And once again, fair use. Yeah, let me get back to that part.
So, well, goddamn it, he walked off, and then you could hear him yelling and shit, and then you could hear a crash, and she said, "Take that, motherfucker," And he said, "I'm sick of you. I've had enough of your goddamn funky ass." And she took off running out of the back door, So it looked to me like she provoked that thing, and if he broke, snapped, and kicked the ass, I could understand. You aren't.
So you see that, right? See, they don't ever show what led up to it. They don't ever show that everybody has a limit. I don't care if it's a damn kitten. If you corner it and you keep poking at it, that kitten is going to fight his way out, or a puppy, or any other sentient being that has, the sense of touch. If you're poking or touching something or provoking it, it's going to attack you. But they'll forget that part, and he's just going upside her head, because he's an abusive black man. That's how they want to frame it.
Supposed to hit women, but you can get a peaceful dog and provoke them to being vicious, or attacking.
Yep, that's what I just said, and that is true. You name it, any creature in nature, if it's pushed and provoked, it has in its instinct and its right to defend itself. Let's continue.
I know with Ike, what I read, because Tina family was still close to Ike when he died, and she kept his last name for a reason, because he's rock and roll royalty. He's a pioneer in rock and roll. But like the thing about it was, when he first started, I think B.B. King said that was the greatest band leader he ever saw. But he was really a strict taskmaster. If he caught you doing drugs, he kicked you out the band.
Yeah,
but when he got on drugs, it messed him up. He was bipolar too.
Well, that's what came out when he was on the show. But see, where he found Tina?
Where?
She did an impromptu appearance on a talent show they had at the Club Paradise.
In Memphis, okay.
That's where he discovered, that thing, proud motorcycles not allowed in it, 25, the speed limit. If you go up to Flatbush, Tennessee, which is right across the county line from Shelby County, there is an old, I used to ride a motorcycle back when, and there is an old convenience store, and it's got bushes, and down in the bushes for several years, there was a sign that said 25 miles an hour, motorcycles not allowed. That was the flatbush they were singing about.
Come on, Nutbush,
river
right? Nutbush
wound around there,
Nutbush. They got a museum.
Yeah, I think the guy's right. Yeah, the town they're from is called Nutbush, but yeah, it's yeah, but the judge he up there in age, but he's still sharp. I think he's still in his 70s, but and we're gonna fast forward a couple of things. I think he said something here I wanted to get. Hold on.
Woman in his mansion. That feels Spectre. Did you hear the Randy Jackson story that they say Randy Jackson was almost killed by Tina? She tried to kill Randy Jackson. You ever heard
she was
story?
A violent woman. Now another instance I saw her, I was in Boys Market on Crenshaw, right by the railroad tracks. Okay, if you ever been in LA. And I was in college. I'm standing in line, and there's 3 or 4 little cutie pies that were like 10th, 11th grade at Dorsey High.
And you notice the judge's story isn't changing. You know, he's telling exactly as a character witness about this woman. He's being very detailed in terms of what this woman was like personally. So just pay attention to this.
From what they had on.
Yeah.
And in front of them was Tina. So they were saying, whispering, was that Miss Tina Turner? I think it is. It is Tina Turner, yes. And I'm just watching this. So one of them got to nerve, I'll say something. Says, Miss Turner? She turned around, bitch, did I give you funky ass permission to talk to me, ho? You look like you gonna talk to me without my permission. I'm gonna slap the grease off your ass.
Now, that sounds more like the pimp Tina coming out, because she got so used to denigrating and exploiting other women that was just her MO. So it all makes sense now. So based on what the judge is saying, her interaction with other females was that of her being abusive to them. Meanwhile, I was the one that seemed to be the civilized one of the two. And it's just fascinating how they, role reverse this whole thing. And once again, this is fair use.
The girl started crying. Hey, shut up, goddammit. You irritating me.
Wow.
And she went, threw her money up, and was rude to the clerk, stalked out of there. I said, damn. And this girl was just crying away, and her friends were all hugging her and patting her on the back. I said, wow. Tina Turner.
Gorilla pimp.
Man, I knew some gorilla pimps. We had them in Memphis. They'd go to Chicago and New York and run the Chicago and New York pimps off the corner and start running the local pimps' hoes for them. Man, they were vicious. They do shit like go up to Chicago, snatch them a little church-going girl that looked halfway cute, chain her to a bed in a cheap hotel, shoot her up with heroin for a week or so until she got to be a junkie, and just handcuff her ass to a bed and start selling discount pussy. 15, 25 people and being lying for me reading the police reports, and I got to associate local counsel and go up there and try to get these fools out of getting some kind of death penalty shit.
That's gorilla pimping. I told you we going there tonight. I told you it's going to be rough. But that's the culture that Tina came from, because what he described was the type of style of pimp that Tina was. He wasn't just a pimp. She was a gorilla pimp, and she probably participated in those types of endeavors that the judge just mentioned right there. But I think the point is made. you see the contrast, right? But that's what I wanted to show you, how this all is twisted, right? And we're going to get into some more things, but I think that single-handedly blew the lid off of this myth when it came to the dynamic between Ike and Tina Turner. So now we're going to move on to Tupac. Yeah, that's right. Tupac was a victim as well. And we're going to talk about, because back in the day, he was accused of gRape. And as it turns out, it was him who was the actual victim. And because of the culture that says that it's okay for women to, do certain things to men, and as a man, we're supposed to, take it and deal with it. We're going to see how this all once again played out. So let's go ahead and cue that up. One moment.
I'll ask you all.
And once again, this is fair use. This is Tupac from an old Arsenio Hall interview, and he's going to kind of lay out what happened. And I want you to pay very close attention to how he said things went down and the way things had kind of got skewed to where it was him that the woman did something to, but when it got out into the media, somehow he assaulted her. But just check this out.
All the questions I think your fans and friends want to know. Anything that you can't answer, you just stop me, because I know tomorrow is the arraignment.
I get sentenced tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you tell me when your lawyers have asked you to stop. The girl who claims that, what she claim?
I can't even say it, man.
Okay, okay. But technically it's a rape case.
Okay. It's a case where I have females saying that I can't say it, but
okay.
It just bothers me so much, you know what I'm saying, to go through my life and everything I did in my life coming out of a family and a household with just women, to get to this point, to have a woman said I took something from her.
And I want you to pay attention to that. He said he came out of a household with just women, right? Now, we're going to see a transformation of Tupac, because initially he was kind of a simp. And he realized that, the women would diss him and all that. And when he got on and became, the Tupac that we know as the rapper, and then after experiencing, true female nature, up to and including this particular allegation that he suffered from, and he actually went to jail behind it and all. I'm going to play a clip a little later where he went from the simp to the red pill, or whatever you want to call it, where he was literally just talking like a lot of these guys who are talking on the net now. But you'll see it. But this is him giving the account of how he pretty much was put in this predicament. And it was actually the woman who came to him. But let's get it.
You know what I'm saying? Because I know.
Okay, word on the street is that you had a relationship with this woman prior to all this friction.
I guess you could say that's a relationship. I bumped in a club, I seen her in a club, and something happened in the club. I can't say over the air, but something that.
Okay, let's use a clinical term. Word on the street.
Okay, word on the street.
Yeah, word on the street that there was oral copulation.
Yeah, she performed oral sex on the dance floor. Now, it's a lot of guys out there that can say what they wouldn't do and what they would do, and when it happens, it just goes down. You know what I'm saying? And it's really, and everybody want to be it's just cool, but it happens, man. Things happen, man. It's like when you're in this position and with the lights and the cameras and everything, people do some crazy things, and I do crazy things too, So, but I paid for that. I paid for enjoying that little moment, because.
Okay, but wait a minute. Let's not get this mixed up with the rape situation. That was separate.
That's separate in the club.
Yeah.
Then this same female, like about 3 days later, she came. Can't say, but she filed a charge against me and said that I did so and so and so and so.
Right.
Now, even though I couldn't come up and say what her name is, I can't even say the woman who's charging me, even though she said Tupac Shakur. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If I say her name, they can sue me. That's just how it goes.
I'm not capable of doing any harm to any woman. That's really the main thing, you know what I'm saying? I do mess up. I do act crazy. I do get drunk. I do have parties. I do.
And once again, this is fair use, but just check out what he's saying. He's saying that he couldn't even say her name, but she can put his name all through the mud, right? So does that seem fair? I don't think so. But let's get it.
You know, get into little fist fights with guys, but I'm not capable of doing any harm to a woman. You know, taking something from her or anything. That's not me. That'll never be me. They don't ever have to worry about me hurting kids or a woman or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? That's not me. I'm a victim. I would never make anybody a victim. You know, that's not me. I would fight people bigger than me or stronger than me. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm a victim. But I would never, you know what I'm saying, oppress somebody. I'm the oppressed. So that's the main thing.
They've said it in the, I can't understand why it's this close. They talking about there's no evidence that I ever sodomized her, even though you put that all over the paper. And every time they take a quote out of this courtroom, they take a quote from out of her mouth, which is, you know, the stuff to put me in jail. It's nothing that's been true. I just want print the facts so everybody can sort it out. My life is ruined because nobody has a chance to get the facts.
And the fact is that there was no semen found.
No semen found, no forcible entry, no entry into the anal, no nothing, none of that. You know,
and no fingerprints on the gun.
No fingerprints on the guns, you know what I'm saying? The only time ever there was an act of sodomy, she admitted she did it to me. I should be, you know, putting charges on this girl who sodomized me on the floor of a dance club. Why am I in court? You know what I'm saying? Get my life ripped apart.
So you see that flip, right? So he technically has a point, because imagine if the roles were reversed, right? Let's say there's some female celebrity, or not even a celebrity, just a regular woman that's out there dancing, and some guy decides to go down on her, right? He would be, even if she would along with it, he could be considered committing assault. So he's absolutely right. Now, of course, he went along with it because that's the macho thing to do, right? And that's why when he was sitting with Arsenio, he said, yeah, you know, you can say what you would or wouldn't do, but you get in that situation, you know, and as men, you know, we've been in situations where women have done things. I know I have. I've been at clubs or whatever when I was younger, and, you know, walking past a woman, she grabbed, you know, your butt, you know, or, you know, get up on you and all that. You know, I've had it happen to me, right? And what did I do? As a man, I went along with it, right? Because that's not masculine for us to, you know, especially a good looking woman, right? You're not going to push her away, right? But I've been groped by women. I've had women do things that would be considered SA, but as a man, we roll with that. But he has a point in that when he's on the dance floor, and you know, he wasn't probably even checking for her initially. He was just doing what he did, and she came up to him and, you know, did what she did. But again, she was the one that initiated. And then later on, I guess they went back to the hotel or whatever, and that's when she was saying that it was great, but it's crazy that happened to this guy. But like I said, remember the title: behind every great man, there's a greater woman. So you're gonna see, when you do a forensic background, you're gonna see that a lot of times when they push these guys out here like they're these grapers and these monsters, it's actually the opposite. So I just want you to keep that in mind as we peel back this layer. But let's get it.
How am I going to forcibly do anything to a girl after she did it to me consensually? And that's not something I'm making up. That's what they said. They said that. The girl came to court and said she did this, she did that. She called my hotel. It was good. She said that, not me. Now, why am I going to force her? I mean, this is common sense. But no matter what happens, innocent or guilty, my life is ruined. Because when they say, whatever they say in this verdict, y'all are not going to make it front page news. It won't be big enough, no matter what. All that you want to hear is that he's guilty, he's in jail, the reign of terror is over, the outlaw is gone. That's what they want to do. So I'm starting to think, I don't know which story to read. I don't know if this is, you know, about, you know, black and white and loud and quiet, or is it about me and this girl? Because if it's about me and this girl, come on, we shouldn't even be here.
Coming down the elevator, you complain.
Something like that up, though.
Why would she make something like that up? Because hell have no fury like a woman scorned. You know what I'm saying? I'm guilty of a lot of things. I'm guilty probably of being a male chauvinist pig. I'm guilty of probably not caring as much as I should. I'm guilty of not spending enough time with people like I should, but I'm not guilty of rape. Just because I don't want to be with that girl don't mean that she has the right to say that I did all of these things that I didn't do. You know?
Yeah, and when we get into the Tyson story, it's funny. I'm just kind of giving you a sneak preview. He kind of says something similar in that his accuser, Desiree Washington, and I thought I had a clip of his accuser too, because the woman was on Vlad. Let me get her name, because like you said, he couldn't say her name before, but we gonna pull. Like I said, we don't just have the receipts. We got some tax returns, right? So we ain't got no reason to protect their names, right? Because the one who accused Mike Tyson, her name was Desiree Washington, and I'm gonna put the name because she's out here now. You know, the woman who accused Tupac, because back then he couldn't say her name. He couldn't say her name, but we can say her name, right? So let me see if I can pull that up. Yeah, she's so important to me, I forgot her name already. But let me, just for the purposes of what we're doing here, her name was Ayanna Jackson, right? So that's the woman that accused him. You can look her up. I think she did a VAD interview, and nobody believes her, even to this day. But anyway, fair use. Let's get it.
I'm saying, just because, I mean, of course I can't spend my life with all the girls that I spend time with, but I'm not married. You know what I'm saying? That's not a crime for me to be promiscuous. It's not a crime for me to be with any girl I want to be with. It's a crime for that girl to turn that into a rape charge.
Exactly. Yeah. So, that's pretty much what happened. Oh yeah, and I believe the point I was making with Tyson and his accuser Desiree Washington, and after she accused him of rape, and we're gonna get into it a little bit later. He said that he wished he'd have just walked her down the stairs, because what happened was he went up to the hotel, and I guess she felt scorned because he said he was tired, he had something to do. I think he had to train or something the next day, and he didn't walk her downstairs. And he said that that's probably what set things off and why she gave the accusation. I'm like, wow. So that's just how precarious it is. So men, be careful. If you don't take anything away from this, you don't have to be a celebrity for this to happen to you or something similar. Even especially if you're a man of means and you got a little, a couple of nickels to rub together, you just got to watch your back. At any rate, and it's unfortunate that you see a lot of this going on in the West in particular, and that, i.e., the reason why a lot of guys become the passport bros, because you can go overseas, and at the very least, even if you're on the surface, you're dealing with, whether they're more friendly and feminine women, you ain't got to deal with no mess like this, right? Because the women, if they pretty much dealing with you, and they're not from these litigious societies where they're just an ambulance chaser lawyer running around to try to get a case on you just because you brushed up against a woman in an elevator. It's crazy, but that's another reason why a lot of guys decide to go abroad. But let's continue.
What about
the circumstances here? Yeah, do you think the circumstances here that is what one discussed?
I'm going to say that I'm a thug. That's because I came from the gutter. Came out in the trial.
Some things mean.
We got together, yeah. She did some things there at the club, and we got together later that night. I saw her again another time with these guys that introduced me to her. Everybody was having a good time, not didn't do anything sexual, they just having a good time. Me and her went in there, she gave her a massage, came out, went to sleep, woke up, she's screaming rape, rape, I raped her, and the next thing I know, I'm going to jail.
So in your opinion, there was no truth to the sexual abuse charges?
Not on my part at all.
Yeah, so let me get that clip real quick. I think I was on mute, but yeah, what I was saying is that I'm going to show in this next clip is somebody who did a pretty good job of showing the inconsistencies of what his accuser, of this Ayanna Jackson, and how she was claiming that she had a certain hairstyle or wearing a certain outfit that night, and such happened, and the pictures don't line up. And they did a good job of breaking that down. Now I know this is a an old case, and we're not trying to re-adjudicate it, but it's just proving our overall point about how these liars, these lying women, and this system is actually abusing the men, but they're trying to paint this narrative that the men are the abusers. So I'm gonna get that little clip. Hold on.
To do your daily online shopping. Oh, let me just get straight to it. The individual that I just
Yeah, so that's her picture now. That's the woman there, and he's gonna break down pretty nice the inconsistencies in her story. So we're gonna show how that plays out. All right, let's get that.
interviewed named Babes. It's crazy because this is a very small world. For those that's been watching Vlad TV, that's been watching this new interview that he just put up with Ayanna Jackson, which 99 to damn near 100% of the people feel like she's lying. Throughout those videos, she's constantly kept mentioning a gentleman named Charles Fuller. So it's crazy. I sent Babes that particular couple videos just to get his response on it. Now, you see, if you've seen the interview I did with Babes, he constantly talks about his cousin named Man. He always talks about his cousin named Man. You heard Big Syke say that it wouldn't have been no Thug Life album without Man and Babes. So this is why I say this is a small world, because when I kept hearing that name Charles Fuller and was talking to Babes about the situation, the way he was approaching it, he was like, man, I know this didn't happen from the people I talked to, because you got to think about the timeline that we started to paint within part one of the video is starting back all the way from like 89, and it's going to go to maybe 94, 95, don't quote me on that, but it's going to go to around that time, to whenever Tupac left and went down to LA. So this gentleman, Babes and Man, were around Tupac almost all the time. They went on all the road trips, tours, and everything that he had during his time. So this rape allegation happened during the time they was around. The crazy...
Yeah, I'm speeding up to where he was comparing what she was wearing. Let me see if I can get that part. Hold on.
Saying, why was no one else arrested? So I don't think that they made it all the way to that part of the video where it was multiple people arrested. The charges was dropped on Charles Fuller. Now that's the only person that she said, I want to make it clear that Charles Fuller did not rape me, which is hypocritical to the whole story, because at that time you claim everybody in the room raped you. So hypothetically, if Charles Fuller had sex with you, but you're saying he didn't rape you, how did the other individuals rape you? How did Tupac rape you? If you can just pick out of all these people that you said raped you and had sex with you in this room this night, but there's only one person. And to me, the most coincidental part about it, and correct me if I'm wrong, the only person that's still alive out of this whole situation is Charles Fuller, is Man. So we're working on... Babes is going to address, since he was definitely... charges was dropped on. Tupac was asked about this forcibly touching the buttock. What she claim? Tupac was asked about this situation. You look him in his eyes, pay attention to his posture, and listen to everything he got to say.
Yeah, we already seen that interview. I think I may have passed it, but I think there was a point where he broke down what she was wearing. Let me see if I skipped. I may have skipped it. Hold on one moment. If not, I think you still... Okay, here it is. Here it talks about what she was... Okay, yeah, I'm gonna play this. I'm gonna play this part. Then yeah, I think that's what I wanted. It was right at the beginning. All right. Here we go.
Sexual abuse, forcibly touching the buttocks.
Still holding me. He still has his hand wrapped around my braids. So I'm still like stockings, which we would call pantyhose back then. I had them on and I remember them being ripped off. I remember my dress being ripped off.
What up, though? This your boy DOC, and I'm gonna play some clips.
So there you go, right there. She was lying through her teeth. She talking about she had braids. She didn't. She had a perm or whatever. She's talking about somebody she had spandex on. No, she was wearing like a jogging suit. It looks like to me. So yeah, that's pretty much that. But yeah, just lying out a whole cloth, crazy. But yeah, we're gonna get. Let me play this clip showing you the transformation. Oh, you know what? Before I even get to that clip, I'm gonna show you some of the stuff that Tupac, as he was going through. Well, I think I played that when all the trials and everything he had to go through. And you know what? I think I'll just go ahead and play that clip where he went from being this lovey-dovey, loving women and women a queen, and it's the same guy that you could see writing that verse. Even though you was a crack fiend mama, you always was a black queen mama. That guy, we're gonna show you the transformation, how he went from that to pretty much this, screw them all. I don't, just pump and dump and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, we're gonna get it. So let me pull that out for you. Hold on. And once again, this is all fair use. Yeah, check this out.
I fight often because of that. I get a lot of friends because I have respect for women, ultra respect for women. And I'm extra nice, extra gentleman. I'm extra just like, oh, you're beautiful and you deserve the best. And she told me I was too nice.
And you see that was before all this stuff happened, right? This was Mr. Nice Guy Tupac, right? This is him, right? Young Tupac. He said he grew up in a household full of women, right? That's his story. That's what happened. But let's watch the transformation.
It wouldn't work because I was too nice.
It really ain't as big as everybody make it, Even the females know it's bitches. Females don't even hang with females. You know what I'm saying? So now, when these hoes get horny, niggas die. Hoes get horny, niggas die. Watch, every time. Every funeral you go to, it's a bitch that was horny the night before. So you need to start checking these bitches, keep your dick in. Niggas need to go back to the OG penitentiary days and start jacking off. If you fucking with a cool female, that's all good. But if you fucking with a bitch, you need to break her ass and shake her
ass. That's a hell of a transformation, isn't it? He went from loving all women to shake their ass and break their ass. So but look, that's what happens. And these same women, when they run into this type of a guy, that's running them through the ringer, they thinking, oh, the men, they're just evil. No, he done dealt with some evil bitches, and that's what pretty much has happened to him. And Tupac is just one example. But I think that part is clear. And I wanted to show you guys that is pretty much what happened to him. He was basically lied on, and the stories were just crazy. A lot of stuff that he had to go through, and it turned out the way it did, unfortunately. But that's an example of how a man, he had more of a case against the woman that basically assaulted him on the dance floor. He went along with it because as men, that's what we're taught to do through society. And if he didn't go along with it, he'd be like, man, what's wrong with you? The girl want to top you off on the dance floor, man, what's up? Those guys turned on him, and now she gets to be. We get into the, the childhood, situations, and we're about to go deep into some of this these issues that kind of have been festering with regard to how guys have been treated throughout the communitah. But give me one moment.
3 creams and 6 sugars in the coffee. And she would stir it up. She would open the Danish, split it with a little plastic white knife.
Now he's describing his mom. Now I want you to pay very close attention to this story and just listen to how he talks about his mom and some of the things that it kind of shows their relationship. And you be the judge in terms of whether or not you think this is normal and this is fair use.
She had this cheap lipstick, and she would taste the coffee to make sure it was sweet enough. And she'd leave the ring of lipstick on the coffee from which she tasted the coffee. And I remember when she would give me mine, when I would sip from the cup, I would turn it around, and I would drink from her lipstick part. Because in a son-mother way, I had a serious, serious crush on my mom because she could sing her butt off. And I just looked up and down to her. I looked around.
Okay, so what did I teach you guys earlier? Now, for all accounts, aside from this particular story, his mother would have been what would be considered a, quote, good mom, right? In terms of, she actually had him and his brother where they were not supposed to go only for about a couple of blocks, and she grew out discipline and worked and all of that. But look what he just said. He said he looked up and down to her. He had a crush on his own mom. Is that normal? No, because that is what creates the simp. So R. Kelly, he's like a combination between the simp and the one who was the overly affectionate. Because like I said, I showed you the different categories, but there's also combinations, right? You might have a simp thug. You might have a like R. Kelly. I believe he's like he's the simp deviant, right? So he's a simp and the deviant at the same time. Or you may have the one who's the self-hating one, who might be the thug or the simp or the all of that. So they're all interchangeable, right? Or you may have somebody who has a weird combination of them all. But in his particular case, because of this weird dynamic between him and his mom, he felt that it was okay for him to take a cup where her lipstick was and turn it around and drink that. That's disgusting to me. Number one, my mom didn't wear lipstick like that, but if she even saw me doing something like that, she'd have smacked the cup out my hand and smacked me upside the head if I was a kid and did some crap like that. And he's gonna say some other things that were peculiar. I have a longer clip, but for the sake of time, I don't know if I'm gonna play it, where he said he asked his mom to, quote, marry him. And I'm like, what? So this whole thing is crazy, man. But this is the type of environment he came up in, and you wonder why he turned out the way he did. It's because of the environment that his particular single mom created. And I think later on he had a stepdad that came into the picture, because I think he has a half brother that I'm going to show, and then we're going to get into the deep part where both R. Kelly and his brother were, and we're going to use the word grape, by an older sister. And the brother, one of the things he's going to say is that he hated it and what happened to him. And he went kind of like the opposite direction of R. Kelly. And R. Kelly actually liked it. And so that's one of the two things that can happen. And that's another dynamic, just like when I pulled out earlier about the different types of single mothers or the baby mamas, that they produce different types of guys. And these types of women who go in and prey on these young boys, they produce these types of guys. Either one guy may respond where he's going to be more closed in, right? He's going to be, he's being victimized, but he doesn't identify with his accuser. R. Kelly went the different way. He started identifying with his accuser, and as he got on and got more successful, as his brother's going to point out, he started buying her houses and doing all this stuff, and basically rewarding her for turning him out, essentially. So we're going to get into that, but I'm going to play the rest of this little clip. Fair use.
I look, everything about my mother, I loved her. And I even asked her to marry me one day. I was like, nah. She said,
okay, so there you go. Yeah, I got that. I forgot because I had a longer clip that had that part. I'm glad I caught that. So you heard it right there, right? So you see, I wasn't making it up. He actually asked his mother to marry him. That's unfathomable to me. We didn't play none of that in my household. You know what I mean? So that's crazy. So this is like an alien concept to me. But those of us who grew up in more stable, more normal environments, then this type of stuff was unthinkable. But these are the types of households that these women produce, and they produce these men, and then when these men invariably become the men that they are and abuse others, then they're looking around, and then you get the Cynthia G's of the world trying to paint these guys as just these monsters that just popped out of nowhere, and absolving their mothers or any other females that may have did something to them of any type of accountability. Because even if it's a male child, he's still a child. And if there's some older woman messing around with him, then that's gonna do something to that boy. And like I said, I got some personal anecdotes as far as guys that I knew, some things that I could have done when I was growing up. I got a few stories to tell real quick. I don't want to hold it too long because I might even have to make a part 2 to this, because this is a deep subject and there's a lot of things that I can point out. But I'm going to get into this clip with his brother, and this is R. Kelly's brother. And I'm not sure if it's his older or younger brother, but he's going to be very clear about what happened to both him and R. Kelly and the impact that it had on both of them separately. So I'm going to show that. So hold on.
Get it without me.
And once again, this is fair use. This is fair use.
Maybe about a week later, she
let me see, hold on.
Or I was born. So she had it was a bond.
And this is R. Kelly's brother here. And in the top right, you see that's their sister, right? So this is the culprit. This is the one who may very well be responsible for what we see in terms of where R. Kelly has become today. Now, his brother, as I said, went a different direction. But there she is right there. That is the face of the woman who, did what this man is going to describe here.
Take your time.
She took my she took my face, and I'm short at the time, and she brought me into the room from the living room, and she had the robe on again, and she sit on the bed, and she just grabbed my head like this, and she just took my head and put it down by her private part, and
wow.
She told me to
Now look at the impact this had. So you mean to try to tell me that boys, and he was a boy at the time. I don't remember how old he said he was. He may have been 8 or 9. He was a boy. And look at how, even as a grown man, it breaks him down because he's traumatized because of this. But yet in the communitah, this type of stuff is, this just a rite of passage. Oh, you're supposed to, if an older woman wants you, man, you're supposed to get that. No, he's still a child. He wasn't ready for none of this. Neither was R. Kelly, but for R. Kelly, because of this weird maybe dynamic that he had with his mother, he was maybe more acclimated to it for, even though that's horrible, but he was already kind of incestuous by the dynamic, as I showed you earlier, that clip as he described his relationship with his mother. So he was already kind of weird to begin with, but his brother seems to have been normal, and so this was something totally foreign to him. So even to this day, and did somebody say? Did somebody say to this day? Did somebody say that? You know, we got to bring some levity into this.
To this day. To this day.
Yeah, so he's still broken up about this to this day. So let's get it.
To lick her private parts. So of course I didn't know what I was doing.
At 6 years old.
6 years old, and
Oh, that's even worse. I said he was maybe 8 or 9. He was 6 years old. That is horrible. But yeah, but this is what this guy had to suffer.
It was like, stick your tongue out, lick it hard, lick it fast.
She's giving you
instructions, and I just started crying, and
You were crying while this was.
And then she went down and started. She started. Thank you. She went down and she started giving me oral sex.
Now, what 6-year-old boy is supposed to be dealing with that, huh? Told you we going there tonight. Yeah, a lot of people ain't gonna like this one because some of them may have been the ones doing this type of stuff. These old raggedy banshees and heifers going around here, trying to accuse certain men of certain things, and some of them may be very well guilty of this type of stuff, or at the very least, they're culpable by overlooking this. And this is a serious issue, and it's still going on to this day. To this day, it's still going on.
This day. To this day. To this day.
With her mouth. Even as a kid, I'm knowing this wrong, and I'm not condoning this. Human nature, you know. So, of course, I'm erected.
At 6.
At 6, and
I gotta just point this out too, because you know, if you counsel young men who've had to deal with things like that, that's one of the things that's confusing to them. Because I've actually spoken to young men who have been, and that's why this is kind of a very, you know, personal or hits close to home, because I've been to homes and places where I've talked to young men who have suffered things such as this. And one of the things that you have to make them understand is that it's not their fault, because they'll typically get a feeling of guilt about the fact that they are aroused, even though their body is just naturally responding to stimulus. They don't want it, but it's confusing to them because it does feel good and they are being aroused. So they think that they're complicit in some way. And so they, just like this man, if you look at him, he's still struggling with this whole thing because he still feels guilty about it, even though he did nothing wrong. And that's a lot of times that's what you have to tell men who have gone through stuff like this, is that it's not their fault. And it's even worse when it's something that happened to them at the hands of a relative, somebody that, because it's supposed to be in a certain level of trust there, and to have that violated, it really, as you can see right here, it really takes a toll. But nobody wants to deal with it. But we're dealing with it tonight, so let's get a little bit more of this.
She laid down on her back and she grabbed me. And she tried to like make me lay on her, but I was kind of like fighting to lay on her. So she turned around and laid me down, and she sat on me, and she took her hand and she grabbed my private part, and she put it in.
Wow. And this went on for how long?
Once again, this is fair use. Fair use.
It had to be about maybe 6 years.
6 years. And your mom never.
That's crazy. 6 years.
Now she's passed. She's since passed away. Did she know before her passing?
I never found the courage to tell her. I never found the strength to tell her what was happening to me. I regret that.
Yeah, that's horrible. And yeah, I'm gonna let me see if I can get to that part where he said that how he feels that how R. Kelly took, because R. Kelly was abused too, probably around that same age, and he took it maybe a whole different way. So him, in his case, he's still struggling with that. But R. Kelly just kind of turned it around and it just became part of who he was. So let me see what else he's saying here.
This is the guy that been cutting his hair for a long time, so he watched him grow up. So he did what any man would do. He protected his home. One bullet went through and pierced his liver, and the other bullet pierced his lung. That ain't how it went down. I asked the nurse who it was, and said, "Your sister." She said,
Oh, you know what? I'm gonna see if I can get that part where he actually confronted this woman later on in life. Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can get that part. This is incredible how she's gonna try to make it seem like the whole thing never happened. Now, do you think this guy's just making this whole thing up? But I'm gonna see if I can show when he actually confronted her as an adult about this whole thing. Hold on. It's almost like that scene in Antoine Fisher, a great movie. I don't know if you guys have saw that. I'm sure some of you had that's gonna watch this in the playback. But yeah, that scene in Anton Fisher where he actually confronted his abuser. But let me get this part.
speak to her. And when I did finally speak with her, she asked me, was Braille okay? She seen it on.
Oh, and by the way, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of more time today because this is such a serious subject. I think we're going to break over the 2-hour mark. So, I wasn't planning to do that, but this is such a powerful subject. I'm going to give you all a special treat. I'm going to go a bit over 2 hours. We ain't gonna go 3 because, like I said, I still got some stuff to do. But I wanted to give you a high quality show. I wanted to cover all the clips that I have. I kind of still been kind of jumping around a bit. But what I'm gonna do for you guys is I'm gonna make sure I at least hit all of the like you see on the thumbnail because I have them arranged. And if you notice, I'm going horizontally. So now we're on Kelly. We're gonna deal with Diddy, and then we're gonna deal with Tyson. We're gonna end with that. Oh, and we got a little. Honorary mention or dishonorary mention with this little James incident that just sparked up, and there we see the genesis of kind of how this all happens with his mom twerking in front of him, and all of that. So we're gonna get it on that a little bit as well. But yeah, we're gonna give you a little bit more time today because normally we just try to stay around the under the 2-hour mark, but in this case we're gonna put a little bit more meat on this bone and give you a little bit more content. And yeah, so because of the nature of this, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. But let's get it.
News, and And she's praying for him and things of that nature. And she told me that I couldn't help but tell her, Teresa, I just want to tell you, I appreciate you calling, checking on my son, but I just want to let you know that I forgive you.
Oh. Take your time.
I forgive you for what you've done to me. And the biggest blowback with that is we all human beings and nobody's perfect.
How did she react when you told her you forgive
She
her?
said, I don't know what you're talking about.
She denied it.
She denied it. She said, I don't know what you're talking about. She said, I said, I forgive you for...
Sounds like somebody wasn't accountable, huh? Yeah. Yeah, where we heard that before. She don't know what he's talking about, right? Yeah, so this guy just making the whole thing up, right? Yep, there you have it, folks. No accountability. Let's get a little bit more.
Molested me as a kid. I remember everything. And I just want you to know that I forgive you because you're my sister. She told me do not call her. Do not contact her. And it's been that way for years since my son was shot and she called that hospital. And my thing is, I'm feeling like...
Yeah, that's crazy. She did him wrong. He's trying to forgive her, and she's telling him not to call her again. Imagine that. Wow.
I feel like she molested me again.
In that moment.
In that moment, I felt like it was more mental than physical this time. Because it's almost like my mama's favorite saying was, don't piss on my face and tell me it's rain.
Right.
You know, if it's piss, I can adjust and adapt to that. The fact that you told me, hey, I did this and I didn't mean to do it. But the fact that she acted like I was having nightmares to get these memories and it never happened. It was all in a dream is what it set me back. It set me back because I was at that point where all these years had passed and mama passed on and our grandmother passed on and our cousin Dana passed on and a lot of people that was matriarchs of the family that kept the family together, that taught us to forgive each other, that taught us to love one another, irregardless of what we put each other through, because we all we got, they're gone. So at that moment, I felt like they were shining down from heaven on me because I took that shield off and I told her I forgive her. And I think it would have helped me a great deal if she would have just said, thank you for forgiving me. And she never did.
Yeah, because that would have been too much like taking accountability, and we can't have that now, can we? Let's continue.
And
how did that conversation? She just hung up the phone after she said, "Don't contact me no more. Don't call me."
That conversation went real. It became actually, I believe, when she told me don't contact her. If my memory serves me correctly, I told her that I have to go. I have to tend to my son. Excuse me. I have to tend to my son and see what's going on. But you don't have to worry. I won't contact you. I won't contact you. I won't come to your house.
But you never contacted her. She contacted
you. Exactly. But the thing of it is that she had some people in the family that's another reason I believe she moved way to Aurora, Illinois, which is like an hour away from Chicago.
Okay.
To escape her past.
Yeah, Aurora is far from Chicago, so yeah, she was definitely trying to get out of that environment that she created. But anyway, yeah, like a lot of them do. You ever have those women who talk about they divesting, or they're leaving Blackistan, and they're the ones that pretty much created Blackistan, as we see here. And this is kind of how it starts, where they turn these guys into these same monsters that they later on trying to run away from. Interesting how that works now, isn't it?
Yes, and the things that she done. So she had family members, some family members that she would talk to every now and then. And then we would get the number before this phone call, before my son was shot. And I would still call, because that's my sister. That's my only sister by my mom. And how did you get this number? Like, I'm the one that did something wrong. One thing that I didn't understand about Teresa is that, she said she was in the church and she was in the God, and, she had to give her life to God, and that's something that we need to do as well. And that's fine. And that's how we was raised, and that's all we know. But what I couldn't understand.
Family member was in the details.
Yeah, it's something about these women that, they live these debaucherous lives, and then all of a sudden they got to get a life to God. Yeah, I noticed that pattern. But yeah, let me get back to that part. I just wanted to point that out, because I think now he's going to talk about how she was a hypocrite, and she was still listening to her brother R. Kelly's music while at the same time claiming she's a church lady trying to serve God.
Is what it set me back, because it set me back because I was at that point where all these years had passed, and
How did that conversation? She just hung up the phone after she said don't contact.
Some family members that she would talk to every now and then. And then we would get the number before this phone call, before my son was shot. And I would still call, because that's my sister. That's my only sister by my mom. And how did you get this number? Like, I'm the one that did something wrong. One thing that I didn't understand about Teresa is that, she said she was in the church and she was in the God, and, she had to give her life to God, and that's something that we need to do as well. And that's fine. And that's how we was raised, and that's all we know. But what I couldn't understand was with me and Bruce. She would tell us she really didn't want to be bothered with us because we were sinners. We wasn't looked at in a pleasant eye when it came to God and things of that nature.
And that was
Wait a minute, she molested them, and they're the bad guys? Wait a minute, the nerve of this chick. Amazing. Well, let's get it.
Reason for her doing what she did to you?
No, I don't think that was the reason. I'm saying,
is that what she told herself?
That's what she probably told herself. But I don't think she did it to Bruce. But the thing of it is that really hurt me and really, had my mind going through a spin.
Yeah, we got a few more other people in the building. Salute to y'all. Yeah, we're going a little longer tonight, so we're out with a 2-hour mark. So those of you who catching it live, appreciate you coming through. Yeah, we have to go in tonight, so this is going to be a special broadcast because we're dealing with a subject that's very taboo. And in this current interview, this is Robert Kelly, better known as R. Kelly's brother. He's recounting how he and his he and R. Kelly were molested by their older sister. Like I said, viewer discretion is advised. We're going deep tonight, talking about some things that may make people uncomfortable, but we got to go to here, and then somebody got to talk about it, and that's what we're here to do. So let's get it.
Cycle is that she was at Robert concerts. She's saved and sanctified and filled with the Holy Ghost. But she's at Robert concert. She got the pastor at Robert concert, the whole congregation at Robert concert.
Oh.
That's okay. Me and Bruce didn't have anything. So we the sinners. And I had a conversation with her. I said, Teresa, I said, so me and Bruce is sinners. That's why you don't want to deal with us. But you at the concert with Robert sing Bump and Grind and Sex Me and front row seats. What's wrong with that picture? We your brothers too, and I believe it was because Robert ended up buying her a house, ended up, giving money to the church that she went to, large denominations of money to the church that she went to, aid and assisting her in different things.
Now I know your brother, especially with all the recent allegations.
Once again, this is fair use. Fair use.
And the allegations of him impregnating a cousin of yours, of you all. I know he probably views incest very different, but from
yes, he does. As I pointed out earlier, when I showed that clip of R. Kelly when he was younger, he said he had a crush on his mom and how he would, drink behind her where her lipstick was and all this kind of mess. So and his brothers are going to get into it, how his response to the molestation that his sister was doing to him, he actually bonded with her because of it and identified with the abuser, as many abusers do, as opposed to Kerry, his brother who's speaking. He went in the opposite direction. As you can see, he's still broken up about it and he's still struggling with it to this day.
To this day.
So that's why he's breaking down about it. But whereas R. Kelly, he kind of internalized it and he became that the guy who went on to do, like Tasha just mentioned, he basically did the same thing to a cousin of theirs, not to mention all the other accusations that came out against them. So it's just very interesting how this particular individual, their sister, was the cause of all of this dysfunction. And then she got the nerve to get on her high horse talking about she's praising God and that they're sinners. And I mean, the nerve of this chick, right? And then she told him never to contact her again when she's the one that reached out to him when his son got shot. And when he said he forgave her, she was like acting like she didn't know what the hell he was talking about. And like he said, he felt like she was abusing him again. So like I said, in true to our title, for every behind every great man, there's a greater woman. And these men who are either went in the direction of this guy, Kerry, or they went to the extreme like R. Kelly, where they go ahead and they spread that degeneracy to other people, but it all stemmed from what she did to them. Well, let's continue.
What we spoke about on the phone, and I know you don't know much, but you do believe that Teresa touched him as well.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do, because like I said, I can't say I wasn't there the same time that Robert was there, like in the house where I can actually see. I know what was happening to me. And I know that when I got to go outside, I was so glad. And he couldn't go outside. And Robert mentioned that, I believe, to Bruce, my older brother, and I overheard it. Never brought it to me. You got to realize I'm the baby. I'm the youngest.
So what did he say?
I think he was saying that he was bragging about he not a virgin no more. See, for him, it was a different ride.
It was like a rush.
It was like a rush, and you know, they was like talking in codes, but we couldn't go outside beyond the porch. This is in the mind of a kid. We couldn't go nowhere without adult supervision. The only place that he went was in the house when we came outside, me and Bruce. That's
so
it.
You think he actually enjoyed?
I think he enjoyed it.
Wow.
I think he enjoyed it, and that's another reason I believe that they got along after the fact, not just the fact that he.
Well, and that's key right there. You notice the difference, right? So this particular gentleman, Kerry, Robert or R. Kelly's brother, he took it a whole different way, right? But as he mentioned, meaning R. Kelly, enjoyed it. So because, like I said, he already had this weird relationship with his mom, so he was already kind of primed for when his sister did what she did to him. So he pretty much, as he said, enjoyed it, and he took that as a I guess a rite of passage, and that's how a lot of men see that. We always hear about, oh yeah, this older woman did this and that to me, and it's crazy, and there's a culture of this, and I'm going to show, like I said, that's why we're going a little bit longer tonight, because I got some very key things that I want to show you that's going to exemplify this culture within the communitah of sexualizing young boys without there being any ramifications. And in fact, it's actually a celebration when it happens. And the boys are supposed to, consider it some type of accomplishment as well.
Took care.
I was gonna ask that, like he's buying her a house and inviting the church, and everybody's all kumbaya.
Right.
And this same thing, but he didn't take it like he was being punished as you did, or being violated or molested.
I believe that. My belief with Robert is that he took it as she opened up a side of him or showed him some things that before any other woman have. We kids. He didn't, like I say, he couldn't go nowhere without my mama knowing. We didn't have girlfriends we can go, and it's like everywhere we went, there was an adult supervision. So someone is, unless an adult sat there and watched them do it, you understand? Mm-hmm. So it's like he never was. She was overprotective. Our mom was. So we pretty much had an adult watching us.
So overprotective. So what did I say earlier when I broke down the 4 different types of baby or single mamas, baby mama households, and the type of men they produce? The overprotective mom, the so-called quote good mom that didn't allow her sons to rip and run and become the Pookies and the Ray Rays in the criminal class. They become either simps or deviants because their moms are being over affectionate, overprotective, and they create these son husbands or these mama's boys. And that's why R. Kelly, he was that weird combination between the simp and the deviant and the degenerate. And you factor in what their sister did to him, and you got R. Kelly. Now he's going around peeing on people and whatnot. You see how all this works? Let's continue.
We couldn't go outside the porch because there was even stuff happening back then, even if my mom was there, she would make sure we don't go out the gate. So we can play, but we have to be within eye distance of her, mm-hmm. So it's just different. I believe.
Yeah, I believe the point is proven with this one. So I think that's overwhelming. I think the case is pretty much, that is exactly the point that I wanted to make when it came to that R. Kelly piece. And as we wind down the show, like I said, I got a few more things I want to show you guys here. That's why we're going into overdrive. And I think we just broke a record. I don't think we've had our show this long before. So if it's for this topic, which I think is a good cause, and which I think may be cathartic to some guys who have struggled with this, and for somebody to broach this topic and they come back and watch this playback, then I think it's worth it to give them this opportunity. Now, this is where I'm going to, hit some of you guys pretty sensitively, because a lot of you guys like me grew up in the 90s, right? We had a few movies that we consider classics, right? There's a few movies that we like to watch even to this day. To this day, we still like some of these movies, right?
To this day. To this day.
So to this day, there's some classic movies that we like to watch. And one of them, and I know one of my personal favorites from that time growing up that we used to watch, was Juice, right? With none other than Tupac and Omar Epps, and great movie that we used to watch growing up. Now, I want you guys to pay attention to something that maybe we all missed at the time. And this is so controversial because even when you try to get this clip, even though the whole, you can get the movie still, but there's an actual scene of pedophilia right in the movie. But because it was a high school boy and an older woman, a woman that we all kind of looked at as a sex symbol at the time, the lead singer of En Vogue, I believe her name is Cindy Heron. Yeah, there's a scene in that movie, and I'm going to play it, where she was messing around with him. And when we saw it back in the day, we didn't think anything of it. But had the roles been reversed, I don't think we would have let it slide the way we did. But I'm going to go ahead and play it. I'm going to play the clip, then I'm going to play some other brothers that broke it down. And I thought I was like the only one, and it, they kind of saw that. But these guys, and I think they were the only ones that I seen besides me, that kind of revisited that whole thing, because they went over a lot of people's head for a long time. But I'm gonna play the scene, and I had to play it from somebody who recorded it off their screen from the TV, because if you try to get it, there's an age restriction on it, which is weird. But what it depicts is probably the reason why they did that. But yeah, I got somebody who was able to record it off their screen. And I'm going to play that scene. I'm going to play some guys breaking it down. So let's get that real quick.
What? How you doing? Is Yolanda there? Who the hell are you?
Hi, Q. Let him in, Frank. Have a seat. I'm just cleaning out some of Frank's things. Frank Q. Q. Frank.
Q. What, did names like Mustafa and Akbar become too hard to spell? My real name is Quincy, and I'm not too fond of that name, so people call me Q.
I don't know if you guys see it. I think it's like out of sync with the lips. It's like a Chinese movie. I don't know if it's just me seeing it because I'm watching it live. Maybe the playback, those of you who are going to watch it, maybe you will see it differently, but it looks like it's out of sync. But I'm gonna have to let it roll. It's just a short clip, but it depicts the fact that this is Q. He's one of the stars of the show. He's in high school, and this woman, Yolanda, depicted by Cindy Heron, is clearly an older woman, married, and that's her soon-to-be ex-husband, I guess. And she's kicking him out basically, and he's packing his stuff, and he's over there and she got the nerve to let this young man come over while she's kicking him out. So yeah, but this was the whole scene in that movie. They had a relationship, and we pretty much watched the movie, and everything was hunky-dory, I guess. But let's get it.
Or GQ, like a nickname, abbreviation. Well, Quincy, shouldn't you be out stealing hubcaps or something like that? Excuse me, speak up, I can't hear you, boy. What'd you say?
Okay, Frank, I found it. Remember these?
Hey, what the hell are you laughing at? Your chain snatcher, Yolanda. Look, who is this kid and what is he doing here?
Oh, please, Frank, don't you think it's a little late to try acting like a husband now?
Look, I just think you're taking this save the children shit a little bit too far, that's all.
Bye.
Look, I just wanted to tell you something you already do.
Bye, Frank.
Well, I can't expect you to what?
Okay, so that was the clip that I was able to get. But those of you who remember the movie, you remember what happened next. He went up to her. They, start kissing. Next thing you know, they roll around in the bed. But this is an actual scene of an older woman with a high school guy, and we thought nothing of it, right? But that's the dynamic. You would never have seen that with the roles reversed, where there was an older man kicking his wife out for this young uh, high school girl to come in, and next thing you know, they roll around in the bed. But that was the lead up to that scene in Juice, a cult classic that many of us who grew up around that time, we had those type of hairstyles. We were rocking around, dressing, that was our peer group, right? Those guys may be a little older than us, but that's the age we grew up in. Those of us who were Gen Xers, right? We saw that movie many times. I still have it, right? Every once in a while, I may throw it in and watch it. But yeah, that was one of the movies we grew up with. Oh, and check this out. I'm going to show you some guys who kind of revisited just like I did. I was happy to, when I was looking, when we were looking for the clips, we came across that, but we came across these guys kind of revisiting it as well. So let me play that part. Hold on.
I watched this. I didn't recognize this the first time, but how old is Q in this movie?
Yeah, there's some molestation going on.
Now they could have been close in age, but it's still, there's a technicality. Now if he was 18 in high school, I guess, but I don't know.
Yeah, she was every bit of 25. You people, her husband was a grown man with
grown man,
everything, bro.
So yeah, that was a little bit, but it was the 90s. It was the 90s, so
yeah,
they let some stuff fly back there.
They overlooked a lot. It wasn't in this sensitive era.
Yeah, those guys are correct in that it was different back then. There was a lot of things that were flying back then that could not fly now. It was actually good growing up during that time because things weren't so overly sensitive back then. But even back then, you still could not have changed the roles, right? You could not have had an older man in say he's a grown man and then a girl in high school and then that same scene play out. It just, even back then they wasn't doing that, but you could do it with this. You know what I mean? So that's part of the hypocrisy. But now we're going to get a little bit into this whole Diddy situation, and I came across this clip, which is highly peculiar, but it's going to speak to the topic. And again, I did the broadcast called "Did He Do It or Did Black Men Do It?" And in that broadcast, I made my case very clearly that in spite of the fact that I feel that a lot of that was contrived. I think that this thing could have been in many ways about the money and so forth. I'm not absolving him of what he did allegedly, and obviously there's a whole history behind P. Diddy and what he's done. I'm not absolving him of anything. I don't even rock with him like that. I haven't rocked with him since the album No Way Out back in the 90s, right? That was a good album, but other than that, he's really just kind of just been annoying to say the least. But especially with all these allegations that even before this whole Cassie thing came out, there was a lot of speculation in terms of his sexuality and some of the deviance and things like that. But you have to go to the source, because like I said, in this broadcast, we're getting to the root. We're dealing with where this stuff may have originated, and there's high reason to believe that he may have been possibly molested as well. Who did it? That's up for speculation, but there's evidence to show that he had some type of strange relationship with his mom, and there was some recent footage that came out that I'm going to share with you guys that speaks to that relationship, and you just got to see it for yourself. If you have not seen this clip already, prepare yourself, because it's quite weird. But I'm going to go ahead and cue that up for you as we wind down the show. Hold on. Give me one moment. Okay, I'm trying to add this file and it's giving me a problem. So let me see if I can do something, because I really want you guys to see this clip. Let me see what I can do. See if I can just add it straight up here. So I was trying to do the share. That's what's been working so far, but I'm going to see if I can upload it, because I would like you to see that. Okay, yeah, I see what happened. It because I clipped it from a larger scene, and it formatted it as a different type of file. But let me see if I got the original. I think I may have deleted the big one, because I clipped it, and then we were gonna just put the that one part that I wanted you to see. Man, I really want you guys to see that clip. Let me see if I got the whole clip again, because I'd have to convert it, and I don't know if we have time. You know what? I might just try to convert it. Why not? Let me see, because it's a short clip. It's not that long, but I'll see if we can convert it right here for you guys. Hold on. Yeah, in the meantime, what I'm going to do is see if we can go ahead and get that converted for you. Let me send that over. So I got my editor to keep the other clip, but it was deleted. But I'm going to go ahead and as I got you here, see if I can just go ahead and convert it real quick. It shouldn't take too long. It's worth the wait, because like I said, if you have not seen this already, it's going to be pretty eye-opening in terms of the dynamic between P. Diddy and his mother. And it kind of explains a lot in terms of some of the things that he's been into, such as the freak offs and all this other weirdness that's kind of that we've been hearing about for the past couple of weeks. It kind of gives you that backstory that kind of makes this all make sense. But yeah, let me go ahead and see if we can get this converted for you here. So yeah, I sent that over to get it converted. And I'm going to see how long this is going to take. Shouldn't take too long if they're able to do it. But let's see. In the meantime, let's see if there's something else I want you guys to see while that's converting. Oh, yeah. I got a pretty good segue as we're waiting to see if this. Oh, you know what? It's already complete. Never mind. Yeah, I was gonna. Yeah, it went faster than what it. Okay, so they get that done pretty quick. So let me go ahead and get you this clip because I was gonna skip to the little James incident, but I'm gonna go ahead now and show you this clip. Let me open that up. All right, give me one moment. And I appreciate you guys who are, maybe still shadow watching and all of that in the clouds, or those of you who are watching the playback that's going for this marathon round. I appreciate you. So we're here to this. Is that finished? Hold on. Ah, now what is it saying? Did it convert? Oh, okay. I see what happened. Yeah, let's send that back. Oh, okay. No. It looks like it just converted the it to an audio. No, we need video. We need video. So let me go ahead and see if we can get that going for you guys. If I can't do it, then I'll what we'll do is try to do it another way some other time, because I do want you guys to see that, but the way it was converted, it won't upload to the stream. So that's kind of what we're doing now, but I'm gonna see if we can convert it real quickly again. And I'll see what it tells me here. But in the meantime, this time I'm going to see if I can go ahead and play that other clip with little James and show you guys the genesis of how this all happens before it gets to the stage of an R. Kelly situation. You see where these older women, they're violating these young men, and it sets them on that path. So we're going to go ahead and I'll play that little James clip, because that's kind of how it all starts. Let me grab that clip. Now look on this man's face, this young boy, that he has to sit there and do something like this because his mom doesn't have the decency or the discretion to know that she's around not only her child, which is disgraceful that she would do this in front of her child, but she's in front of other children. And the fact that she felt it was okay to start twerking on some random guy is just outrageous. And who knows what else this young man is seeing, but this was just a public embarrassment. I'm sure he's probably seen some things behind the scenes that he shouldn't have seen, or she said some things that shouldn't have been said. But I just wanted you guys to, those of you who have even seen this clip, to look at that from that perspective. And those of you who have not seen this clip, unfortunately, this young man had to witness this, and it pretty much traumatized him on the spot as he started crying behind the whole thing. And this is a form of abuse. It may not be as graphic as what we saw in the earlier clips with R. Kelly and his brother, but this is still abuse nonetheless. Make no mistake about it. Fair use. Yeah, and this little weird Hispanic dude, whoever he is, he just said, but he's the crazy part is he's showing more remorse and is more apologetic to this young man than his own mom, because his own mom didn't console him. In fact, she's the root of the issue, but she has no accountability. This guy at least shows some level of you know, remorse, even though he had to get checked first, but still he's under no real obligation to be concerned about this young man's well-being. But he did show a degree or a modicum of respect to the young man, as opposed to his mom, who was sitting there indignant about the whole thing. So it's terrible that it has come to this, but that is precisely the origin story, or the the backstory, the villain story. If you trace this guy's life, he's going to go into one or two ways. He's probably going to become a chauvinist type himself. He ain't going to respect women. He may even become abusive, or he's going to become ultra feminine and zesty. Some people I've heard have kicked out around the idea that he may be going into the latter field. I don't know. I don't follow him because as far as as I understand it, he has an online persona, and I think a sizable following. But I think I may have seen him here and there around, but I don't follow his content. But shout out to that young man. It's unfortunate that he had to go through something like that at the hands of his mom. But I just wanted you guys to pay attention to the fact that this Latino guy is showing more of a concern for this young man than his own mom in this particular instance. He's showing a mea culpa, or the fact that he felt, he's apologetic in terms of what he did right there when he realized that the young man was offended at the whole thing. But where's the apology and the consoling from his own mother? Amazing. Yeah, so there you have it. Horrible. But Leah, let me see if this Diddy clip's gonna work. If not, then I'm gonna have to go past it. Let me see if I can play this. See if I can play it outside of the yeah, you know what? It's just giving me the audio, people. So that kind of defeats the purpose of what I want to do. But anyway, in that clip is P. Diddy and his mom. They're sitting out there lounging on what looks like a balcony or whatever. They're drinking, listening to music, and then at one point they kiss on the mouth, which is horrible. I'm telling you, you may have already seen the clip, but that's pretty much what it was. And he's saying that there's like they're flirting with each other. He's talking about his mom's single. It's like he's trying to put her out there for the streets. And at one point he says that she can touch both hands to the floor with her palms, and crazy stuff. I'm like, stuff that couldn't even fathom saying to or about my mom. And that's something we didn't do in my household. We never would kiss our mother, grandmother, anybody like that on the mouth. That was outrageous. That was unheard of. Didn't happen in my family. I don't know if some of you guys out there that grew up in families like that. Not trying to offend you if you did, but that didn't go down in my family. In fact, I remember the very first time I became aware that guys were doing that. Young boys, I think I was like 9 years old or something. My mom and I were out at a restaurant, and it was like a booth or something kind of adjacent to us, and we're sitting down, we're having our meal, or we're waiting on our meal, as it were, and we happened to see another young man and a woman and his mother, because I think what it was some type of occasion where it was like the mothers were taking the sons out. I forget what the situation was, but I remember this moment. And we could see that they were sitting there and they were talking. It was his mom, and they were sitting there, and at one point they kind of leaned over and they kissed each other on the mouth. And my mom and I, we mutually looked at each other in disgust, because that was unfathomable. and we didn't know, because it's like, because I know for me at 9 years old, I had never seen nothing like that, and my mom, I think, didn't either, because that didn't happen in our family, no way. But I remember us, we just kind of looked at each other. We saw it at the same time, and we just looked at each other. We were like, I think my mom may have even got us about it after right after that or something, because that was crazy. But that was the very first time I even witnessed or knew that there were young boys and their mothers kissing on the mouth. And that was, like I said, that clip that I wanted to show you. And I might just make it up to you guys. I'll find a way that we can maybe convert it, and maybe on another show I'll show it if I can, wove it into the next topic. But yeah, we're gonna wrap it up with Tyson. And those of you who are aware of Mike Tyson, yeah, let me get that one out here. Yeah, you know that he was convicted of gRape as well, and we're going to go a little bit into his origin villain story about his relationship with his mother, which I think a lot of people might not be aware of. But his mother was actually, according to his own words, a sex worker. So yeah, and that kind of made him see a lot of things and see women in a certain way. And he's going to tell you from his own mouth how that kind of framed his idea of women, and saw some of the things that they were capable of at a young age as well, and how that kind of set him in motion to do some of the things that he would do later. But yeah, let me play some of these clips with Mike Tyson. Hold on. So you guys happy or what? So like I said, I gave you guys a marathon show by our standards. We ain't like Mumia over there with the 8-hour marathons. I got irons in the fire, so I can't do that. But this is my version of that, right? This is, I'm not the 8-hour strong man like the Penguin over there. Shout out to him, but I am definitely the Dark Knight, and we over here in the wee hours for you, because this is such a vital topic. I pushed a couple of things back because where I am in the world is actually a little earlier in the day than where you might be watching this, but I still had some things to do. But I've kind of pushed that back just to kind of give you guys this content, and to make sure that we flesh this thing out, because I did set some things up for you that I wanted you to see. So we're gonna finalize everything with dealing with Mike Tyson and the issues that he dealt with, and we're going to show his villain origin story as well, in the relationship that he had with his mother. But let's get that.
Alcoholic, not cool life skills, no life skills at all. Now that I'm, as plain to see, it's no life skills. Excessive in everything, party, drinking. Yeah, that's what I remember.
What about your father? What do you remember from him?
Fancy cars, good dresser.
Okay, did you catch that? Did you see the contrast, right? When he described his mom partying, all kind of wild stuff, right? But his father, well dressed. Now his father was into that life too, but his image of his father was more so, but he was mostly with his mom. So had Tyson spent more time with his father, even though I think he may have been in like I said, a shady lifestyle, what have you, but he at least seemed to have, he elicited different adjectives, right? He was stylish. He had, was well dressed or what have you, as opposed to his mom. And I'm going to show you some other examples of him describing his mother and some of the things that he had to go through. But yeah, let me play that for you. Go ahead and cue that up, because I'm going somewhere with this, because it shows this pattern of how a lot of these guys who later were accused of these grapes and being these deviants look at their origin, and invariably into a man, they all have had these types of dysfunctional mothers. Some of their mothers were outright sex workers, as in the case of Tyson. He readily admitted that she was basically a 304, and that has a very devastating impact on a man. So let me see if I can get that next clip where he's really talking about his mom in detail.
Important person in your life. Do you think you would have even made it out of your teenage years without your mother?
Oh, and once again, by the way, this is all fair use, of course. Fair use it is.
I don't know. My mother was a complex woman that had a lot of men issue. You know, she didn't have a good, I don't know, she didn't have a good common decency with men. Her and men didn't get along well, except her last boyfriend who stayed with her till she died. But she was just one of those ladies that always had men admirers. You know, and being a woman, being the strongest woman figure in my life, and when I see her be disrespected by these men and she accepted, that allowed me to have not really functional relationship with women.
You think it affected you?
Did you hear that? You see the impact that the mothers have on the sons? Yes, it's a direct correlation between how the mother was to how the men view women. Facts. So for all the women that want to make this like these men just pop out of nowhere, they just come out of the sky, they're just bad because they're men and they need to be deleted because intrinsically they're bad. No, 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 no. You can directly link how men view women based on their mothers. Okay? This has been proven time and time again, and here we go with even more evidence. So let's continue. Fair use.
100%, yes, 100%. Because, you know, you'll see her and a guy fighting her, scolding a guy with water, a guy beating her, and then next thing you know, guy buys her presents and they're friends again. And that's been my life for the women I've been with. We have conflicts, we fight, you buy them a gift, and now we're friends again. And not addressing the issue that caused me to buy this gift to make them happy again. You know, it's very few women in my life and has not been driven by materialism.
You did a very special thing for your mother. You had her body exhumed and you put her body in the most expensive coffin that you could possibly buy.
I told you guys I was going over 2 hours. We're going on 3. Man, this is a marathon show. This is a extravaganza. You guys, I want to see nice views on the playback on this video. So come and support it. It's definitely worth it. We put in some work on this because of the nature of the topic. And I wanted to make sure I got you the clips that we laid out. So yeah, we're not gonna quite get to 3 hours because we're about to wrap it up. But yeah, this is our marathon show. This is the longest show I believe we've done. If I'm not mistaken, I'll have to go through the archives. But yeah, let's get it.
Why did you do that?
Hey, listen, that was probably for me. I don't know. Why would you? She was dead. How could that, how could she enjoy that, you know? Maybe if that's my guilt as being a horrible son. I don't know why I did it, because I could. But
Was it your way of thanking her, albeit belatedly?
Maybe it wasn't thanking her, but maybe to tell her, show that I love her. You know, but that's how my life has always been, to buy my love, you know? Maybe that wasn't a good idea either.
Did you ever get the chance to tell her that you loved her?
I don't know, we didn't have that relationship. I always hugged and kissed her. My mother, I think my mother was disappointed in me as a person. You know, I did a lot of bad things. I've robbed a lot of her friends' houses and stuff like that. So my mother, she didn't have hope for me. And I came from upstate New York with Cuz telling her I'm going to be the world's greatest fighter. No one could beat me. She thought I was insane. I'm 14 years old, so she must have thought I was insane.
So you see that? So what did I say earlier? What did I teach you guys earlier? When they are neglectful, as opposed to the quote good baby mamas, good single mom who creates the simps, the ones who do the neglecting, the ones who don't take care of their sons, like his mom, who didn't really, believe in him. He said he wanted to be a boxer. He was going to be, one of the greatest and all that. She didn't, believe him, and he was basically a street thug, right? Because she was so busy partying or getting, bust down or whatever she was doing with herself. It gave him time to be out there being a menace to society, and therefore substantiates the point that I made, which is how these criminal class dudes, these Pookies and Ray Rays, are formed, is because of it's a direct correlation to the mother. Because she was not the mother she was supposed to be. He still loved her, right? He still had a little bit of that simp energy. Even though you was a crack fiend mama, you still a black queen mama. He still had that energy, but he was still that guy who picked up those cues from his mother that he didn't really respect women the way he should have, because he saw, like he mentioned, all somebody had to do was trick off on her. They could slap her around, do whatever, get into fights with her, and then they come bring her something. It's all good. And he said that kind of created the narrative of the type of relationship that he would have later in life as well. But we're going to get a few more clips before we wrap up. And this is when he's talking about those allegations that this woman, Desiree Washington, put on him. And you may see her in the thumbnail right behind the picture that we have of Tyson is Desiree Washington. Because like I said, we naming names, we putting faces and places together. So back when these accusations were coming out, these women got to be in anonymity, even though they were lying, just like in the case of Tupac. They got a chance to hide. He couldn't even say her name, but she can drag his name through the mud. But now, we don't mind naming names and showing faces. So her name was Desiree Washington. And he still, to this day, is dealing with this issue. And by the way, did I just say to this day?
This day. To this day. To this day.
Yeah, so Tyson is still dealing with that to this day, and he's going to talk about it. I'm going to play a clip of him discussing this whole thing and the impacts it's been having on him. Let me get that. Well, let me deal with, kind of when all that came out back in the day, and it really messed with his head. Not that Tyson was the most stable guy to begin with, but after that, it really, even his boxing career kind of went down a bit, because he was back in the day, man, when we was watching Tyson, he was unstoppable. And once he went through that, it became a problem. But let's get some clips from Mike when he was dealing with that whole situation.
I think she was tired or something. I said, don't worry about it. Just comb your hair and put water in your face. And I asked her to wear something short, like a short dress or some wide, loose, baggy shorts. And she came in the car, we kissed, and we were making out, okay? Fooling around, and then we drove right around the corner to my hotel room. We got out of my hotel room, we went upstairs, and we went in my room. So when I closed the door, we went in my room. We sat on my bed. She sat on my bed in somewhat of a Buddha position, when the legs are crossed. And she was talking, and we started kissing. And she started pulling off her clothes. She was getting hot. She was getting aggressive. And we had oral sex, and then eventually we had vaginal sex. And after it was over, I invited her to stay. I said, because I'm tired, perhaps because you had to get up at around 5 or 6, and I had to leave at approximately 2 hours. We both had the same schedule approximately, but she didn't want to do, but she wanted me to walk her downstairs, and I didn't want to walk her. I said, well, my limo's down, so you could take the limo, but I'm sorry, I'm tired, and I have to get up, and I just can't walk you. Maybe I should have just walked her downstairs or something. We should never cry over spilled milk, of course, but maybe I should have just walked her downstairs, it's Christ. And the next week I heard about this.
That's crazy, right? It's like what Tupac said. He said, "Woman scorned," right? So, like Tyson said, well, maybe he should have walked her downstairs. Maybe that wouldn't happen, but that's crazy. But we're gonna get into some of this lingering impact that it's had on him. I got some other interviews that I'm going to show between. I'm kind of got like a compilation between him and Tupac because they kind of had a similar story, and they were able to bond. And I think Tupac at one point even came and visited Mike while he was locked up. Because of that, and they could kind of relate because they both were victims around the same time of these type of accusations. But I'm gonna go ahead and play that clip, and then I think that's probably around the last one I'm gonna play actually. So, like I said, we're creeping up on the 3-hour mark, so I'm gonna say that monument for another day. I don't think I want to go over 3 hours today, but I'll do that as another special occasion because we already went well over 2. So let me go ahead and get this other clip here. Here you go.
I'm calling to report a rape. An Indiana grand jury has indicted former heavyweight boxing champ Mike Tyson.
Tupac Shakur was arrested for allegedly helping a friend sodomize a woman.
He's like, yo, I'm tired. Come on, let's go.
What did she think a guy wanted at 2 in the morning? I assumed that we were going up to get something.
You're going there for something. People don't hang around you 2, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Ain't nothing open at 3 o'clock in the morning but some legs.
If things don't work out the way you expect them, why would you call rape?
My life is ruined because nobody has a chance to get the facts.
I really wish I did now, but now I really do want to rape her and her mama.
Hell have no fury like a woman scorned.
Tyson, a wild boy. I don't know what he. That what that's Tyson right there. You see what he said at the end? That's crazy. If I was his publicist, I would have been like, he meant hypothetically. I would have been trying to put out those fires. I mean, come on, Tyson. That does nothing for your innocence. Because I don't believe he did it. No one believes he actually did it. But when he said that was a wild boy right there. But shout out to Mike Tyson. But anyway, yeah, that's it, y'all. We're gonna end on that note. I hope you enjoyed this extended episode of the Night Riders Squadcast. I think we got it in tonight. I got out a lot of the clips I wanted to get and a lot of the points that I wanted to make. Not all of them, because like I said, we had a little difficulty with that one clip of P. Diddy. But like I said, at some point I may just, if I can get it to work maybe on next week's show, even though next week's broadcast is going to be a different topic. If I can, maybe put it in there just to show you guys, then I will. But at any rate, yeah, it's been cool. Yeah, this was definitely a marathon. I think I got the point across that I wanted to make, that this is a systemic issue, and I hope that you walk away from this presentation looking at these accusations and these men differently. Don't let the Cynthia G's of the world and all these other bitter banshees and broken down baby mamas sit here and try to frame the narrative that somehow there's something intrinsically bad about black men and they're all rapists and doing all this type of stuff. When you trace everything back, a lot of times these men were abused themselves, often at the hands of a woman, which we always look at this dynamic between men and women and think that women are always the victims, but you have to remember that these were men at some point were boys, and a young 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 8-year-old boy is vulnerable to a woman. Even though he's gonna grow up into a man that will be bigger and stronger than the woman, he's not at that level yet. So he's still a child. He's still being violated. He's still being abused, right? So you have to get that out your mind. Just because of this gender and this new age of feminism that always wants to demonize men and masculinity, even if it's a boy who hasn't even developed yet, and somehow it's okay for a grown ass woman to sit here and take advantage of a young boy. And we had to pull the layers off of this whole thing and show unequivocally that a lot of these men who are walking around with these stigmas and these bad reputations, when you look into their origin story, this type of thing has happened to them. It does not absolve them of anything that they've done wrong. And even some of these men that we've highlighted, they admitted, like Tupac and Tyson, they've admitted that they've done some things that maybe they shouldn't have done. Okay, fine. We all have made mistakes, but you have to realize that a lot of these guys were taken advantage of at vulnerable times in their lives, and they've been demonized unjustifiably as a result, even though they were actually victims. But at any rate, thank you once again for sticking by. Those of you who have gotten to this point in the video, thank you so much for your commitment to this topic and to this broadcast. And we're just going to keep it pushing. So, without any further ado, we're going to wrap up the show right there. And remember, we're not just a podcast, we're a Squadcast. There's a very big difference. Mission complete, over and out.